Though she is not among the funniest characters on The Office, Jan Levinson is one of the most interesting and complex characters of the show. Her character arc is a bit more like a landslide, but that's why we want to focus in on her. By laying the steps of the Maiden's method over top a character, we can identify certain themes in their behavior. We learn things about ourselves when we look at the actions of others, fictional or non, and think, why are they acting like that? And with a character as wild and erratic as Jan, it may be worth it to know how people get to a point like that. With that knowledge, perhaps one could avoid that behavior themselves. Or they could write their own character who may be just as wonderfully intimidating as Jan.
I'm so sorry. I hate this. You're better.
I might as well be straight with you. The key to Jan's character lies within a single 2-minute long scene. Because while the first 3.5 seasons of the show pass by with her as the no-nonsense boss who has one lapse in judgment, she eventually throws healthy decision-making out the window, she leans into the chaos, and all for a false sense of security. Now, if that doesn't sound familiar to you, go back and watch the introduction to the blackening phase. According to the Maiden's Method archetypes, Jan is a hag. She enters the blackening phase and never leaves it. And in Season 3, Episode 11, Back from Vacation, Jan clearly lays out her abandonment, her feminine threat, and being hidden away.
In the last year, I've gone through a divorce, an identity theft, a husband who would not communicate.
Jan's divorce is the major contributor to her downward spiral. It is her abandon to subpar care. See, in fairy tales, the father of the story often has something to do with letting the girl go. We don't know anything about Jan's parents, but we do see a similar archetypal theme here. The man in her life wouldn't communicate, and we know from a Season 2 episode that he didn't want kids even though Jan did. 2 of these things are particularly rough for any woman, but regarding the Maiden's Method, they are deep wounds to the Maiden's way of life. The whole point of the Maiden's Method is to learn how to interact with the world, i.e. communication, and to be able to create. Poor Jan had both of those deep desires squashed by the same person.
This is neither here nor there. My psychiatrist thinks that I have some self-destructive tendencies and that for once, I should indulge them.
Jan's psychiatrist is not very good. I don't mean to step on the toes of any actual clinicians out there, but for y'all in the general public, I'm going to go ahead and say that self-destruction is not something you should indulge. And I'll speak purely from the Maiden's Method point of view. Indulging self-destruction is like abandoning yourself to subpar care. We've all been inundated lately with this idea of self-care, and Jan, with the help of this psychiatrist, has deluded herself into thinking that she can be built up by tearing herself down. She isn't caring for herself. She's running off with Michael, who is, as she says, wrong for her in every way. Jan is her own feminine threat. She knows what is right for her, and she is choosing what is wrong. Apparently, having done this with her ex-husband, she knew that he didn't want kids, but she still married him, hoping he would change. It doesn't make her stupid, as she asserts. It makes her insecure. Insecurity can drive a woman to marry a man who she knows doesn't want the future that she wants with him. And the way to combat that, Dr. Perry...
Who's Dr. Perry?
...is by building herself up toward personal security, not by running into another bad relationship for the sake of indulging self-destruction. The other side of all of this is revealed in Jan's explanation for following the advice of her psychiatrist.
I think I owe it to myself to find some kind of happiness. You know, I mean, even if it means lowering my expectations or redefining the word itself.
It seems that Jan doesn't know what happiness is. The truth is, if her expectations were unrealistic, her definition of happiness wouldn't be the problem. See, she's purporting 2 opposing solutions. If she were going for realism, she wouldn't have to turn happiness into a torrid secret affair with a subordinate whom she is attracted to, but with whom she won't actually share her life. And if her problem really could be solved by redefining the word, that would mean that up to this point she had happiness all wrong. She would come to understand what every after-school special and every spiritual leader would say: happiness comes from fulfilling work. fueled by reasonable self-care and applied to others in need. If she had been anywhere near that at any point in life, she wouldn't play around with the idea of redefining happiness. But no, she's not learning anything here. She's not making healthful decisions. She was drowning and is, for some reason, embracing the advice to just start taking big gulps. Remember, the hidden away stage is about getting lost in a warped world. Jan is not dating Michael to embrace happiness. She's doing it to embrace chaos. As a successful career woman, she probably thinks that she had order down pat, that order has up to this point failed her. But chaos is something that clearly seems appealing to her, even though she knows it's kind of wrong. But the chaotic void is not endless floating in the vacuum of space. It's where stars grow and burn and collapse and reform and reshape. It's where creation happens. Jan knows she needs chaos, but forgets that you can't just stay there. And unfortunately, Jan never leaves the chaos. She never leaves the blackening.
Yeah.
This is the thing, I am attracted to you. I don't know why, but I am, and I need to follow my instincts. At least that's what Dr. Perry thinks.
There's our number one hag clue: instincts. Animals follow their instincts. Humans measure their instincts. The difference between using that lizard brain and using a high-functioning prefrontal cortex is that the lizard will flee from or fight those it perceives as a threat. Humans are expected to rise above that knee-jerk response and act with reasoning ability. And as a response to fear, reasoning ability can show that size, strength, and even weapons are not necessarily going to defeat the intelligent prey. Tragically, Jan fears herself. She hates her life. She slides from one bad decision to the next. She isn't willing to move into the manufactured companion stage, look herself in the mirror, and be better. She won't name her standards because she can't meet them herself. She wants to be creative, but, well, she isn't successful at it. She even has a child through artificial insemination, trying to fulfill unilaterally that desire that she deliberately kept from Michael, who gladly would have shared with her in that future. She's afraid to get what she wants because she's afraid that too will disappoint her, as most things do when we have unrealistic expectations. And so, like an animal searching for prey, Jan just gets hungrier. She lives to consume the others around her, whether that's Michael, her assistants, or even her daughter. Like the witch in the woods, she puts out candy to lure others in so that she can devour them. And all of it so that she can preserve a low-leveled lizard brain life. Suckered by instinct, she thinks that this is natural. But regression into an animal-like state because you can't make it as a functioning adult member of human society is unnatural, sinister, and plunges everyone within an arm's reach into the chaos of becoming prey to this beast. It's terrifying. As we're talking about Jan as a perfect example of the hag archetype, let's take a walk down a hypothetical pathway to see what she might have done differently. How does she move on from the blackening stage? Let's say that when the doc aired, she was watching this scene and realized, wow, I'm still not happy. She could realize that, like I said, happiness comes when we get out of our own heads and start working with and for others. Empathy is something Jan struggles with. It's too sophisticated for someone who is stuck in their lizard brain. But by following her instincts, she is like a dog barking at itself in a mirror. She doesn't have the self-awareness to move on into the whitening phase. But if she were to gain that understanding from watching this moment, she would stop feeling threatened and therefore would stop threatening others. If she put a foot in reality, she could feel more secure with herself and stop depending upon others for her security. If she started functioning with consideration for the world in which she's living, she would start contributing to making it a world in which she wants to take part.
I am taking a calculated risk. What's the upside? I overcome my nausea, fall deeply in love, babies, normalcy, no more self-loathing. Downside, I date Michael Scott publicly and collapse in on myself like a dying star.
Stay tuned for more videos on the Maiden's method and the characters that follow it. If you like this video, share with your friends, and be sure to subscribe for upcoming content by hitting the notification bell.
Why is this so hard? That's what she said. Oh my God, what am I saying?